President Uhuru Kenyatta took all of us completely by surprise, me included. Yeah. Everybody was expecting a complete lockdown. 2 or 3 days ago, South Africa began a 21-day lockdown. So we're just waiting. Then the president comes out and talks about curfew. Some Kenyans were livid. Yeah, let me let you into a secret today. You see, lockdown means nobody's working. Nothing is happening. And the motive behind some Kenyans wanting a lockdown will surprise you. And it is this. 5th of April is just around the corner. You know, most people have to pay rent by 5th of the new month. So you can imagine, on the 5th, some people, si kila mtu, is that by the time 5th comes around, and then that landlord comes with his big black book, you'd ask him, yes, can I help you? Because seriously, under complete lockdown, how do you go and ask for rent? How do you enforce rent payment? How? And if the worst comes to the worst, a landlord cannot throw you out. It's illegal. There's a lockdown. Nakwambia, hata hiyo pesa ya rent already ilikuwa imepigiwa budget. Cans of Tusker beer, that tablet, you've been salivating over, so that you can take in the Kumekucha Chris channel better, etc., etc. And so the president really crushed some people's hopes. Anyway, let's get serious. I just thought I should cheer you up a bit. This stay at home, it can really dampen your spirits. So I hope you're laughing. Now, to be honest, I was really impressed by this move by the government. Oh yes. In the midst of this very serious crisis, somebody was level-headed enough to talk about what is really important, the economy. Now, some experts say it wasn't enough. They say it is too little too late. However, at least somebody is looking at the economy. A government in Black Africa is looking at the economy. Hongera. I'm very impressed and very proud to be a Kenyan. Chris, what's wrong with you? We have a crisis here. Get people healthy fast. We'll sort out the economy later. How can you talk like that? Hold your horses. Let's do this today. We're going to go into a meeting, a secret top brass government officials meeting, and listen in to the discussion. Of course, we're going to recreate an imaginary discussion, which I believe will be fairly close to what went down. But I will put the usual disclaimer all fiction writers put when they borrow from real life to write their fictional, in quotes, accounts. No characters here resemble real life characters. Any similarities are totally accidental. So here's our fictional meeting in State House. Most of the people present, of course, are health experts, the health CS, and all the top specialists and experts in the country. And so the health people talk fast. Mr. President, we're all ready for the lockdown. Everything is in place. Me and my team are, of course, very aware of what our colleague here said last time when he raised the issue of financing the lockdown. But, Mr. President, there's no other way. A lockdown is not good, but there's no other way. We don't have any other option. Look at the countries that have been successful in fighting back against this scourge. China was very successful when it had a complete lockdown. We can always raise the finances as we go along when you're already in the lockdown. Kenya has many friends. No country will refuse to help us at this time of need. We are ready. Thank you, Mr. President. The President speaks. Thank you, Health. Now, what does the National Intelligence Service have to say about this? Are we ready? Mr. President, sir, there are a number of issues we need to take into careful consideration before we go into any lockdown. We are all aware that even before this crisis came along, our country has a very serious unemployment problem. And many people don't realize it. But this unemployment crisis is what has been stretching our security organs in the country. And the situation has gotten a lot worse over the last 8 days or so, as our partial lockdown has come into effect. People are not working. People are not earning money. But actually, Mr. President, we have another bigger problem. I have been talking to my other intelligence colleagues in other countries. And some of these countries, Mr. President, are providing basics to people in lockdown. But it is still a huge challenge. Just to put it as briefly as possible, there's something which happens to the human brain when the threat of death comes nearby. People become unpredictable, and they start behaving in all manner of crazy ways. And many of these crazy ways are criminal. And from what my colleagues tell me, this problem mainly is in low-income households. Now, Mr. President, you know the city of Nairobi has various major slums. There's Kibra, the largest in Africa. There's Mathare. There are the Mukurus, Mukuru kwa Jega, Mukuru kwa Ruben, and so on. And the major problem is the close proximity of these slum areas to where there's plenty to steal or loot. Mr. President, the Kangware slums neighbors Lavington. The Mathare slums neighbors Muthaiga. The Mukuru slums neighbors the biggest industrial area in Eastern Central Africa. My submission, Mr. President, sir, based on our top analysts, is that yes, the virus could kill a lot of Kenyans, but some of the problems that would arise from a lockdown would kill many more Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. President, sir. The President speaks. Now, do we have any financing? How far have we gone with trying to get money for this? Thank you, Mr. President. The reality, despite nice speeches by rich Western countries, is that we are now in a situation where it is every country for itself and God for all of us. Most countries in the world are very worried about what will happen after this crisis is over, to their economies and to the economy of the world. They are not in exactly the kind of mood to help. And they are very worried about debt. The US, for instance, the $1,000 it is going to distribute to workers in the country is borrowed money. And our people all agree that after the crisis, debt will cripple very many countries around the world. And I'm not talking about third world countries. I'm talking about big Western powers. Mr. President, we fear this virus just like everybody else. But sir, a lockdown will lock our country economically in such a way that it will be very difficult to unlock after the crisis is over. Thank you. Now let us leave that meeting for now, because we already know the direction it is going, and I'm sure you're getting the gist. And now let us get down to breaking this up and analyzing it. And we'll start with a very simple question. How does the curfew help to put the virus in check? Does it spread more at night? Or what is really the issue here? Because a lockdown is easy to understand. Everybody remains in their houses 24/7. Therefore chances of spreading this thing are limited, very limited. But a curfew, you go out during the day and then you're in your house by 7 p.m. in the evening. How does that stop this thing? Actually, the curfew has nothing to do with stopping the virus. And I'm very much aware of all the theories and what people are saying about heat. We have even heard some Western countries say that they're looking forward to warmer climate in the hope that it will halt the spread of this thing. All that I'm aware of. And of course it is cooler at night. But still, in my view, it has nothing to do with fighting this scourge. And I will speak about what I think the real reason is a little later on our show today. But for now, let's look at another theory. There are those who believe that the curfew is supposed to help people adjust, so that we start with a curfew and then it leads up to a lockdown. Now, this is a very credible theory. It makes a lot of sense because when a baby is born, you don't give them meat straight away. You start with milk. You move to soft foods, etc., etc., until that day when you arrive at meat. And so that is not a theory we can dismiss. We have to keep it on the table. And the pressure an African leader always has is that the world is watching. And so, let us not appear like we're doing nothing. Let's start off with the curfew. At least we're doing something. And then people know that maybe in future we could go into a complete lockdown. Makes perfect sense, at least to me. Now let's move to what really impressed me. The core message from the president yesterday was this. Instead of lockdown, get back to work. And take advantage of these new measures we've taken. No taxes for low-income earners, who are the vast majority. And therefore there'll be more money in the economy because people have more money to spend. At least those who still have jobs. Corporate tax down. So companies get back to work. And also because of this favor, you should also return the favor, employ more people. To me, this is a brave government looking beyond the crisis, because the crisis will end. What has a beginning also has an end. It'll end. And so the question is, what will happen after it ends? I think that's a very important question, extremely important. And if all this is correct, if I've read the situation correctly, then it means a lockdown is completely out of the table for now, and maybe even in future. In other words, a lockdown will only come back to the table when something very drastic happens, that cries out for it, like a very dramatic increase in cases. Now, there are those who would argue that actually the Kenyan government had no option. The options were limited. Because at the end of the day, a lockdown needs to be financed. Even if you're not dishing out food to the people, the expenses. First of all, there's reduced income, reduced revenue for the government. People have to work and earn for the government to get money. And very, very, very few people in the country have reserves, so that they'll keep on shopping, and yet they're not working. They're not earning anything. In other words, a lockdown becomes completely unviable. Again, that is a theory we cannot dismiss. Indeed, there's plenty of evidence to back that one up. Now, the highlight of the president's address is the patient who has completely recovered, reducing our numbers for this scourge from 28 to 27. Yes, people recover from this thing, even in Black Africa. And so it's not a death sentence. So remain positive and fight that thing called fear with everything you have. I'm not saying become reckless. No. Fight fear, but remain very careful. Observe all the rules and regulations you're being given, all the advice from experts. That complete recovery of a patient was very, very good news. Very good news. Excellent news. Because, among other things, what it means going forward, whatever happens, we can always fall back on that hope that people actually recover. One person has recovered for now, but many people can recover. Now let's move back to what I promised earlier during the show. I believe the curfew is to preempt a problem that is almost inevitable in this partial lockdown that we've had. Remember that many people have lost incomes. Many Kenyans are struggling to put food on the table. Many Kenyans are desperate. And desperate people are very dangerous to the peace. And we all know that crime happens under the cover of darkness. And a curfew will go a long way in keeping all of us safe. That is my view. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.